Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name's John Eaton. I serve as the Vice President for Complex Care at Wounded Warrior Project, and in that role, I have the honor of leading our mental health portfolio across all aspects of our organization. Today, I have the privilege to lead our welcome you to this powerful conversation on how Warrior Care Network is transforming PTSD care through collaboration, innovation, and compassion. This morning, we're going to walk through how Warrior Care Network works in practice, how we integrate clinical expertise, peer support, and data-driven care to create a responsive and holistic system. Perhaps even more importantly, and what I'm looking forward to most, we're going to hear from people who have lived it themselves. And so I'd like to start by welcoming and introducing the panelists that we have on stage today. First, I'm thrilled to introduce Dr. Joe Sorenberg, Executive Director of UCLA Operation Men and the co-creator and clinical director of Operation Men's Accelerated Brain Health Program in post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. Also, a founding member of Warrior Care Network and someone that I call a friend. Dr. Sorenberger has helped shape the way that we understand and respond to trauma, not just in individuals, but across entire family systems. Her leadership has made Operation Men a national model for holistic, family-centered care, and we're honored to have her here today. Thank you. Next, we're joined by Jackie Price, a 27-year Navy veteran dedicated to supporting veterans as they heal from the invisible wounds of service. Having walked through her own mental health journey, Jacqueline brings empathy, understanding, and hope to others navigating similar challenges. Jackie serves as both a peer support leader and a Warrior Care Network ambassador with Wounded Warrior Project. In this role, Jackie helps raise awareness about mental health challenges, connects veterans to specialized clinical care, and shares her personal story to break down stigma. Her own healing journey has made her a powerful advocate for breaking stigma and reclaiming joy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And finally, last but certainly not least, we have Randy Price, a proud Navy veteran and a dedicated community leader. As a family support peer leader with Warrior Care Network as an ambassador, Randy supports veterans and caregivers with compassion and insight, drawing from his own experience both in military and in the community. Randy understands the importance of connection, trust, and encouragement in the healing process. He works closely with families to ensure that they're not just feeling supported, but also equipped with the resources and hope to face difficulties that can come with the invisible wounds of war. His journey alongside Jackie shows us how healing can be a shared experience, and how caregivers play a huge role in the recovery. And so before we kick off and I turn it over to the panelists, really would like to give a little context and level setting about not just Warrior Care Network, but Wounded Warrior Project as a whole. Wounded Warrior Project launched in 2003 as a grassroots initiative from a local group of citizens who wanted to give back to our nation's first wounded, ill, and injured coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. And their way of doing that were to stuff backpacks with care and comfort items, whether it's a Walkman, whether it's a deodorant, a pair of socks, and they delivered these to the bedside of those warriors at Walter Reed. And while the backpack was important during that time, really what they were doing is more than just a backpack, and it was a promise. We made a promise over 21 years ago that we would always be there for those warriors no matter what. So fast forward to today, Wounded Warrior Project has 300,000 alumni that we serve through over 20 events happening each and every day across the country and abroad. Our programs are really a reflection of us keeping that promise. As you can imagine, we continue to see mental health as one of the biggest needs, and what warriors are asking us for from a programming perspective. We know of our alumni, 70% are living with signs and symptoms of post-traumatic stress, anxiety, depression, and 50% have 2 or more of those conditions. And we are committed to supporting warriors throughout their journey, not just across mental health, but holistically. And so Warrior Care Network was really born out of our understanding of when we're looking at what do warriors face when they're looking to access high quality PTSD care. And traditionally, that care really falls in one of 2 categories. It's either a weekly talk therapy that a full course of treatment would be up to a year, or a residential program taking a warrior out of their home for up to 2 to 3 months. And so Wounded Warrior Project, in partnership with 4 world-class academic medical centers, launched Warrior Care Network. And so we have Dr. Joe represents Operation Men out of UCLA. We're honored to also partner with Road Home program at Rush University, home base at MGH in Boston, as well as the Emory Veteran Healthcare Program at Emory University. And over the last 10 years, which is, it seems like just yesterday, we have transformed the way that PTSD care is provided into now an accelerated brain health program where warriors are getting access to a year's worth of treatment in just 2 weeks. And we're seeing warriors feel better faster and stay better longer. And we're really proud of that work. And since inception, we've served just over 13,000 warriors. So that's a high-level context setting of what we're really going to discuss today. But I'd love to turn it over to Dr. Joe to give us more insight into Operation Mend as specific.
Thank you, John. I want to say that I'm honored to represent Warrior Care Network and the 4 academic medical centers, but I'm most honored and most proud of sitting next to this wonderful couple who came through our program. And I look forward to our fireside chat, and I really am just so proud of you. So a few things about Warrior Care Network and our academic medical centers. We all have a 2-week intensive outpatient program that focuses on evidence-based treatment and trauma-focused care. One of the unique things about Operation Mend is that we have 2 additional elements to our program. One is we have a surgical program that is for post 9/11 warriors who have been injured physically in the line of duty. And we started Operation Mend based on that program in 2007. Fast forward to 2010, and we expanded our surgical program to include orthopedics, not just reconstructive surgery. And then in 2015, we were approached by the Wounded Warrior Project to really think about direct service delivery of mental health. And we became part of the Warrior Care Network. When we started in 2007, we included the caregiver as part of our surgical program with the warrior. And it was a natural progression for us to include the caregiver in our intensive treatment program. You know, I think many of you here are familiar with the substance abuse or addiction model where the patient goes to 30 days, et cetera, then comes home and tries to translate what they learned, you know, to their family members and try to reintegrate. Well, we wanted to avoid that. So what we did was we had the caregiver be integrated as part of the treatment program from day one. So they are a registered patient with Operation Mend. They're considered part of the participants in a cohort model. The only thing that is different is that they don't get direct trauma treatment or individual treatment. But what they do get is a caregiver group. And Randy can attest to this. He was part of our caregiver group. And it really is an opportunity for our caregivers to really think about all the paths not taken. Because as you all know, when you are a caregiver, sometimes, especially with our military folks, they become a caregiver overnight. And it isn't the traditional caregiver where it's an aging parent or a special needs child. It really is this shock, oftentimes, of having to have this role that was very unexpected. So our caregiver group is not teaching caregivers to be a better caregiver. They are absolutely the experts. It really is an opportunity for them to take the time in their own group and talk about the impact of being a caregiver. And they learn resources from each other. They are curious about other things, but it's also, what path didn't I get to take? And what do I do with that? And what resources can help me either get those goals that I didn't get to have, or really sit with and grieve those where they didn't get to go on that. So I'm looking forward to listening to Jackie and Randy and their experience at Operation Mend.
Thanks, Dr. Joe. And really shifting from looking at through the clinical focus lens, I'd love to take the opportunity to start looking really through the lens of someone who's experienced this firsthand, which is incredibly valuable. So Jackie and Randy, thank you so much for being here and sharing your personal story. Jackie, I know We've heard your experience and know that we'll learn about how that was for you and Randy at Warrior Care Network. But if you don't mind, tell me a little about you before Warrior Care Network.
Sure. First, I want to start by thanking Chip and the family for having us here. Having the conversation about mental health and continually having that conversation is so important because that takes away the stigma of mental health. I'm a professional. I'm a veteran, I'm a mom, all of the things, but sometimes with having to think about having a mental health challenge, it breaks down my ability to just integrate everything. And so, I'm gonna stop there, but growing up, I grew up in what I didn't realize was a traumatic environment because it wasn't, I guess it wasn't outwardly traumatic. It was very, we were quiet, we didn't talk a lot, and not connected. And so with those things, I didn't have a lot of those needs being met, you know, that you would normally have as a child. And so I grew up, I was fine. I went into the military right after high school and had a wonderful career, excelled because I was always just a go-getter, just, you know, self-initiative. And during that time, I always felt like something was missing, but I never knew exactly what it was. And I retired from the military in 2018, and during that time, I kind of was having some emotional discomfort. I wasn't sure what was going on, some outbursts every now and then. If you looked at me outwardly, I was fine because I was always quiet and peaceful. And so I just thought, I didn't know what was going on, but I continued on my journey. I connected with Wounded Warrior Project in 2021. And from there, I started attending their peer support group meetings. And one of the veterans there started sharing his story. And as I was listening, something kind of connected. And I said, maybe I'm going through something of trauma. Again, I wasn't in despair or anything that outwardly would show that. And so once I finished that, once I left that support group, I immediately signed myself up to one of the Warrior Care Network programs, which was Rush University. And that program opened my eyes to so much of what I was going through. I just never knew all of the things that was going on inside, and I was basically just like silently imploding is what I was doing. And once I started getting the information and the insight, I continued on my journey. Again, I'm the person that if there's something to have that I need to be free and independent, I'm gonna go after it. I'm that kind of person. And so this was one of those things, the areas that was holding me back, I had found. And so I left Rush University and continued on my journey, getting new skills, getting new understanding. And I came back home to my husband, who, again, he's very supportive and loving, but didn't understand this either. So we were both unaware of any of this stuff. And so in 2024, last year, I actually contacted Operation Mend, and we went down in September for an assessment. And in January of this year, we actually went through the program. And Operation Mend was, to me, just the very missing piece that I was missing. They had the support piece of it, which I never got in any other programs. I understood about me and my trauma and how to kind of navigate that, but I never really got the support and how important it was for my spouse or my community to understand how to navigate someone with trauma. And that's what Dr. Joe and the team brought to us. And so here we are now, navigating this world. I'm more peaceful inside and out. Now I was outwardly peaceful, but not inside. And really being able to enjoy, my spouse and also just life in just a better way.
Jackie, can I ask a question? How was that for you to have Randy in the groups? Because all of our participants would be in the skill building groups. How was that for you?
For me, I thought it was such a cathartic moment, if I can use that word, because again, I did not realize this was something that I needed. And to have that, it was just so helpful to be able to have someone that I was so deeply connected to understand what I was going through. I mean, I thought that was the very thing that shifted everything about my journey.
Yeah, because as Jackie mentioned, we were having problems, what we would call heated fellowship. Nothing major, but just not connecting in our marriage. And so she went to Rush and came back. She had answers, but I didn't have any answers. I was still lost, like what is going on, And so, and it wasn't until, like I said, we went to Operation Men, and for the first time as a caregiver, I felt like I was being heard. Dr. Joe, it was 2 or 3 of us there, and she was just giving us all the statistics of a caregiver not taking care of themselves, missing doctor's appointments, and feeling left out. And I was like, finally, somebody hears us, somebody sees me. And after she finished her speech, I said, well, okay, what is the answer? Because, we want to fix it. And she said, awareness. Okay, I already knew there was a problem, but awareness, at that time, it didn't resonate, but I started to understand. The awareness gave me, now I can be sympathetic for my wife. I can not try to fix it and not even try to understand everything, but be there. And so with Operation Men, it just opened up, just new doors for Jackie and I, and now we're able to process through disagreements, because it doesn't just go away. It's not a one-time fix. It's like layers of understanding one another, supporting each other, and I believe they saved our marriage, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
I appreciate you sharing that, Randy. Before I have a follow-up to that, but I'm curious, Dr. Joe, we talk about healing, it's not just an individual thing, but it's holistic. And so how common would you say this type of experience is when you're pioneering having caregivers integrated within that care? Is this is a consistent theme you're seeing, I have to imagine?
Absolutely. It is very, very consistent. And part of what I think they're talking about is really that what we've done is create a safe space for there to be the opportunity for translating Randy's experience and translating Jackie's experience, and then going home and being able to do that. Those skills that they learn for themselves, but then also having this bubble of the 2 weeks. I think that's one of the things that the 4 academic medical centers have really worked on, is this very innovative, brief 2-week model, but it really packs a punch. And what they've left with really is tools and an opportunity to create that same safe space at home.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate sharing that. And I think one thing to looking at, and we're very proud of it, is the standard accelerated model across Warrior Care Network is foundational, but each site has areas where there's subspecialties. And one of the reasons being, in traditional care, warriors will tell us that I was declined from a PTSD program because of my traumatic brain injury, and I need to have that treated before I can have my PTSD care, or I need to go to detox or a substance use program prior to this. And so really the approach of putting the warrior at the center, how do we provide personalized care with underlying foundations for this PTSD program? And that's what Warrior Care Network's done, and Dr. Joe and Operation Men specifically through the lens of caregivers and others. Randy, If you're willing to share, I'd be interested to hear your thought process when the first opportunity came to join Jackie and go to Operation Mend. How hard of a conversation was that?
Well, it was tough because I didn't understand. We grew up very humble, and we put it under the umbrella. This is just life. You just keep going, and you join the military. I remember they said, if it didn't come in your seat bag, you don't need it. You just keep going. You just keep going. And so, but I don't know. We have a religious background, so being a man of faith, I have to try. I always say I have to give everything I can before I say I'm done with it. And so I said, let's give it a shot. Let's try it out. And so, but yes, it wasn't, I didn't see it at first, but I'm so grateful that I took the opportunity to go.
Yeah. And can I add, I'm not sure that Randy was clear on exactly what he was going to get into. He thought he was going to support me. He's always been a support. He's always been a source of support. To me, the disconnect is that we didn't have the information. Mm-hmm. So he went there, and he's supporting his wife, right? So it's me, and then he's the caregiver. So he was going to be hands off. I think that's how he kind of saw it. And then being able to encounter Dr. Joe and enlighten with all this information, I really think that really helped him, because I don't know that. And you can speak for yourself. I don't know if he would have went if he thought he was actually going to get some of this therapy, if you will, but he was going because I was getting more therapy. And so I thought that was the best thing ever, that he was kind of blindsided, but it worked out great.
Well, yeah, you're correct, because I didn't really think I was going for myself. But it's so important, it's so key, because now we can have conversations. We're starting from the same place. Mm-hmm. The cognitive process training of think about what you're thinking about. I'll never forget that. Like, why are you thinking that? And now we're able to talk, and we both understand each other and can support one another now. Yes. Whereas before, when she came back from Rush, I didn't know what she was talking about. I didn't care. I was just ready to run. So now it really just gave us the tools that we needed to be grounded, the mindfulness, learning how to basically communicate better, listen, and to support one another. So it was awesome.
I appreciate that. I'm curious if you can, so I think there's a theme that really struck me with your story and what I know about you today, and it's around connection. And so the power of being in an attendee of a peer support group where you identified that, hey, I think I might benefit from looking into this, to tell me where you are today now in terms of leading. I think it's just a really great full circle story, and it shows how you're, giving back.
Yes, absolutely. I think I was literally created for connection, and it's just so interesting that I grew up in a family that we were so disconnected. And now having the opportunity to be peer support leaders, being able to share our journey and also be open and vulnerable and honest, I really believe that helps to break down the stigma and helps the individual to want to seek help. Hiding is a big thing in the mental health. I was there. Again, I didn't know what was going on, so I think I was hiding, not because I was trying to, but I think that I understand why individuals hide, because we get attacked sometimes when we're honest about what's going on with us. And so being able to convey compassion and empathy from a lived experience and not a learned experience, to me, that's very important.
Yeah. And I think, this hasn't changed, though. I think asking for help appears to be a sign of weakness to a lot, but it's just a lot of courage and strength. I mean, even as we deal with peer support, the resources are there, but sometimes the veterans are just not ready. They're not ready to receive it. Mm-hmm. But we're so grateful, for the programs that they are there for the ones that do come through. Because it just stumbled in our laps. We was actually attending a yoga class, and someone that worked for Wounded Warrior said, "Hey, y'all should join the Wounded Warrior." I said, "There's nothing wrong with us. We're good."
Yeah.
You know, until we not understanding the invisible wounds and the things that we've dealt with over the years. But here again, we're just so grateful that our paths crossed, and we was there for what, maybe a year. They said, y'all would be great peer leaders. Okay. Oh, I can put on some events. I like that. Not knowing what we were getting into.
Yeah.
And then, what are we doing?
And this is why, while I was still unpacking my trauma, you know, but again, that is a part of the healing journey. You don't get to just work on yourself and then serve others. You actually heal while you're serving others. And that was a very important part of it also.
Yes.
It's a give and take relationship. As I'm giving out, I'm also receiving.
What I love and why I love the privilege I have to work at Wounded Warrior Project is hearing this story, excuse me, because one of the phrases we have is living out the logo, and our logo, sometimes you're the warrior who's being carried, but sometimes you're the warrior on the bottom carrying someone else. And I think you, as a unit, have filled both of those roles and now are continuing to carry others, and it's just really powerful. So I appreciate your service with Wounded Warrior Project and just sharing your story. Shifting gears a little bit, we've talked about, the idea around the stigma of mental health, and I need to be, quote unquote, a train wreck before I should have any type of care. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little about maybe some of those misconceptions, how you approach that, and maybe some of those learnings you've had through that journey as well?
Yes, absolutely. I really think that life in general creates a capacity for trauma, if you will. How we treat each other, how we kind of show up for each other, how we show up for ourselves, that all plays a role. I don't think you have to have encountered this event, which is what I was thinking, that was trauma. So I didn't really encounter that as much. And so I couldn't see that in myself. And so I never was in despair. I had all of the outward things. I did everything. I have the degrees, the job, the career, the house, the cars, all those things. But inside, I was silently imploding, and I did not know that was happening. And so with that disconnect, I was never fulfilled. And until I dealt with that part of me, there's just life that comes to me, being able to enjoy the moment and people and, being in the present, that's really unmatched.
I appreciate that. And so having that experience, going through different forms of Warrior Care Network and being involved in the community, what's your approach? What's your message to other warriors, perhaps others that are in your shoes or some form of that journey to help them kind of get connected in the same way that you have?
Sure. So to the warrior that has not gone on a journey, I would tell them that they're worth it. Okay? Life needs all of us and all of the gifts that we provide for life. And doing the work is worth it. For the veteran that's on the journey already, I would say keep going. It does get better, and there are programs out here like Operation Mend that is constantly working to put those other pieces that we may not have known. I didn't know the support portion was so important, so I would say that. And then for the person that is supporting someone with PTSD, just continue to